So you might be thinking to yourself, what's going on here? Why is there a non-pony related video on this channel? Here's a quick explanation. My alternate account to the Ferbguy, which has been known for producing non-pony content up for the internet for people to view, has recently faced a copyright issue and has to deal with 6 months of not being able to upload anything longer than 15 minutes. It's the same thing that happened to this account. Luckily, it was solved within 6 months, and I've been able to upload anything longer than 15 minutes. A good thing, otherwise I wouldn't be able to upload something else. But the only reason I'm doing it here is because the vlogs that I'm going to be doing may be longer than 15 minutes, and the alternate account, like I said, only has that limit. At least until the suspension is at least until the 6-month probation is revoked. So you got either one of two choices. Either you can enjoy, or you could just wait a while and just wait until the next MLP vlog, or whatever it is I'm doing. But with that said, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. At least, fillies and gentlecolts, to be more precise with this account. Enjoy the Ferbguy's 28 Days of Christmas 2, The Saga's Electric Boogaloo.
Very well.
Oh, hi. I didn't expect you to be here on the day after Thanksgiving. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Sammy Summers. If you're watching on this channel, I am known as 2D Ferbguy, or if you're watching on my other channel, I'm known as The Ferbguy. And welcome to my annual 28 Days of Christmas Marathon. Why 28 days? Because 25 is not enough. This time around, I'm not going for a journalistic form. I'm more of going for a vlog-ish idea. All spanned throughout the months, I've been planning, choreographing everything to make sure that it's 100% accurate to what I dreamed about. And I'm splitting this into sagas, instead of just reviewing shorts in one pile and then movies in another. So, follow me and I'll tell you what's the plan in our first episode. Come on. Oh, Christmas. One of my favorite holidays of all time, but also is the time of the season where it gets over a bajillion specials and movies. But honestly, there has been a lot going on. Ever since I was a kid, I was fascinated by Christmas specials. But what has been some specials or movies that you remember growing up as a kid? Die Hard, Christmas Vacation, Home Alone, Santa vs. the Snowman? Or how about the one company that's well known for producing a dozen Christmas specials without you knowing that you actually liked this when you were young, but then when you think older, you suddenly realize, I can't believe I actually liked this stuff when I was young. That company being Rankin, in our first marathon known as The Rankin Strikes Back.
Merry Christmas, little fella. We know that you're in there and that you're all alone. Be a good little fella now and open the door.
the change, you filthy animal.
I decided not only to talk about one special per day for this marathon, but talk about multiple specials. How to get started with this is simply like this. First, we start off with the first special that started Rankin Bass for being well known for their holiday specials. That being Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, as the first Rankin Bass special. There's a lot of interesting history with Rankin Bass on this one, per se. What's interesting is, originally, there wasn't an extra ending where they go to the island of misfit toys. In fact, it was like completely brushed off and forgotten. Which, of course, the following year, it led to a bunch of people complaining about that scene. It's like, I mean, kids were like, where's the scene where Santa goes to the island of misfit toys and gets them? Yeah, 1964 was an odd year for producing this. But what's interesting is that the stop-motion specials weren't produced in America. They were produced in Japan, no less. And what makes this special is the fact that this was released a day before Pearl Harbor. And I mean the attack on Pearl Harbor, not like the Michael Bay movie, because, you know, Michael Bay is already abusing his power in Hollywood already, as we all know today. But somewhere, as I stated before in the Rudolph movie review, there are differences between both this and a remake, which I might cover later in this 28 Days Marathon, but I don't know. But it really brought on a lot of great memories, but also I realized that sometimes with a lot of these old specials, they're bound to have some random continuity. They're bound to have some random, like, errors, like in the voices, the characters, sometimes maybe even their, like, design. Basically, the version I own here is the near 100% original uncut version. It includes that extra ending where he goes to the island of misfit toys, sure, but if you ever notice, if you ever watch this on, like, any of the older Christmas Classic series videos from Family Home Entertainment, or say, what else, or on CBS whenever they air Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, they always cut them film down. They replace where a couple of misfits for fame and fortune, the bridge in the song We Are Santa's Elves, just to make room for commercials. But back then I didn't even know that, but now that I'm older, I can definitely see the couple of flaws with this, and overall how I feel about Rankin Bass in this very first special. But overall, I say this is good. I mean, it may not be best for a non-fan of Rankin Bass, at least for the specials, but what could you do? Next we have The Little Drummer Boy. Another stop-motion special from Rankin Bass, and sorry, I have to make sure I get in frame here, so excuse me one moment. There we go. We have here The Little Drummer Boy. Obviously, it has, I mean, it's a story about a young orphan drummer kidnapped by a greedy man that holds him against his will. And of course, you probably know the tale from this point. It's about the kid learning how to find about having more heart than ever. There are some humans that are bad, but there are some humans that are good. It was a little bit weird just seeing this over, like, years ago, back when I saw it on ABC Family. Keep in mind, I've never owned this movie on video or DVD. I've mainly had Rudolph and Frosty and Santa Claus Is Coming to Town, but never The Little Drummer Boy. Kinda odd. But overall, my thoughts on this one are mixed. I mean, there's Jose Ferrer, if you can even pronounce that, as how do you say this? Ben looks like hammered if you remove the R and the extra A. Well, actually, if you added the R and the extra A and removed the M. Ben Harmand with the Vienna Boys Choir. But overall, the stop motion, it looked interesting, though I wish I had the DVD so I can see whether it's real good at the digital remastering or not. Because the rest of these DVDs are, like, they're the 2004 releases, but they're digitally remastered. Like, this has extra scenes that are not included within the CBS or the original Family Home Entertainment video releases. But overall, Boot Off, I think, is a good film. I think it's a good special, and overall it's great. Little Drummer Boy, I think it's okay. Now let's get on to the short special, Frosty the Snowman. Well, actually, to be more precise, this is The Legend of Frosty the Snowman, which includes a new movie, which hopefully I'll cover sometime in the future, who knows. But we're here to talk about this one, the original classic. I've noticed that, I mean, throughout this, I noticed like a couple of like animation errors and a couple of animation errors, off-time sound effects. But let me tell you about the tale. The tale is about a bunch of kids in an elementary school on Christmas Eve that they decide to build a snowman. They wind up finding a magician's hat. They wind up putting it on him, putting on the snowman, and of course, he starts to become the most funniest character there is. Animation errors that are in this special includes accidental voices in the wrong characters, parts where the characters' mouths aren't moving, and like I said, off-timed sound effects. So it's like, there's like one moment in this where two people crash into each other, they're carrying presents and the presents drop on them. However, that sound effect is completely off sync. Sometimes there will be like digital remasterings where they might, like, you know, polish the video up, maybe polish the audio up. I noticed the audio clean in this one, but still with the off-time sound effects, and on occasions they might put in a new sound effect. Like, for instance, in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, some of the revolvers they placed with they winded up putting in new sound effects. But overall, Frosty the Snowman is personally one of my favorites. It does include another special, Frosty Returns, but I'll get to that when I get to that. In the next marathon, though. But overall, 7 out of 10, I would say, for Frosty, despite the errors. And finally, for today, for the first day of 28 days, we have Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Which is obviously the origin stories about, of course, Santa Claus. What's interesting about this is that if you ever notice when you buy the DVDs, you might notice some weird timings. Like, I mean, one thing I hate about DVDs is when they decide to, what am I getting at with this? I'm talking about Santa Claus is Coming to Town here. Basically, it's an origin story about Santa Claus. As a young kid, he was basically not wanted by the mayor of the town, who was a man with ridiculous rules, the Burgermeister, or Burgermeister Meisterburger, if you want to be precise. The only reason I come back to this is because, obvious, Mickey Rooney plays Kris Kringle. He winds up getting pulled away from the orphanage and sent to the little workshop with a bunch of elves and a kid. what looks like Mrs. Claus, but turns out it's not. It's more the elves' mother. They take him in and they teach him like how to build toys, how to learn, how to laugh, and all that. Even bring him a red suit. He decides to bring the toys to town, and unfortunately, because of the Burgermeister's new rules, he decides the Burgermeister enforces the rules of outlawing toys as well as outlawing the man himself. It's pretty interesting to see this kind of style of animation. It looks way polished up than Rudolph does, but of course what makes Rudolph special is because of the history behind it. This, not well known. I mean, the puppet stop motion looks real good. I mean, that one has history, but this one sort of gets overlooked. And it's really good of a special. If you ever get a chance, go sit down, go see it with whoever you have as a young kid. Just whatever. Just go see the Rankin Bass specials, because honestly, they're real good. Because I can't remember for some odd reason, my ratings. 8 out of 10 for Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The Little Drummer Boy, 7. Frosty, 7 out of 10. And Santa Claus is Coming to Town. More I think about it, I say a 7 or an 8. But there's more Rankin Bass specials on the way, so stay tuned for the continuation of the 28 Days of Christmas. And as always, I'm the Ferbguy. We're Radio Free Wastelands, and we're here for you.